Police National Headquarters, 180 Molesworth Street, PO Box 3017 Wellington, 6140, New Zealand. Telephone, 04474 9499. Fax, 04498 7400. www.police.government.nz. February 15, 2021. Our reference, IR 01-20-37723. Mark Keane. Dear Mark, I am writing in response to the email you submitted December 11, 2020. Your request has been considered pursuant to the Official Information Act 1982, OIA. Specifically, you requested, please supply any guidelines, procedures, regulations, directions, or policies in relation to NZ Police's obligations, responsibility call for an ambulance upon request from a member of public/complainant/offender whom is at the time requiring medical assistance, having difficulty breathing, etc. Is there any obligation for a constable to ensure a person whom is, for example, requesting or requiring an ambulance due to that person being a vulnerable adult, elderly and suffering distress such as trouble breathing, to call an ambulance? Is there any duty, responsibility, or obligation to ensure that a person is given medical attention upon request? Can NZ Police leave a person whom is having difficulty breathing alone, without a caregiver, when one is required or needed? Firstly, if your request is not based on a hypothetical scenario, can I please ask that you provide further particulars of the incident in question? This would enable me, with your agreement, to ask staff from the relevant district to contact you and discuss what has taken place. As your request is very broad, it has been interpreted as seeking to understand police's obligations to provide medical assistance to others. There are two pieces of legislation that police must adhere to. The Crimes Act 1961 Section 151 identifies a duty to provide necessaries and protect from injury vulnerable adults, including those under police's care or charge. The Health and Safety at Work Act 2015 imposes other duties on everyone in workplaces to manage risks. Section 30, for persons conducting a business or undertaking, PCBU, to fulfill a primary duty of care. Section 36, and for workers to comply with reasonable instructions, to take reasonable care for his or her own health and safety, and ensure their acts or omissions do not adversely affect the health and safety of others, including those in police's care. For your convenience, links and extracts from this legislation have been provided in Appendix 1. In addition, police has internal guidance that relates to your questions. These are policy documents titled, People in Police Detention, First Aid Training and Equipment Kits, Oleoresin Capsicum Spray. Relevant extracts from these documents have been attached in Appendix 2. Please note the legislation and policy require the actions and decisions made are both reasonable and practicable. Constabulary staff are trained in first aid and are required to undergo cyclical refresher training, which includes assessing a person's needs in relation to medical events. They also complete health, safety and wellness training. Police has made this training mandatory for constabulary staff, so that people can be safe and feel safe. I trust you are satisfied with my response to your request. If not, you have a right under Section 28(3) of the OIA to ask the Office of the Ombudsman to seek an investigation and review of my decision. Yours sincerely, Inspector Greg Phillips. Phillips@police.government.nz. Acting National Manager, Response and Operations. Appendix 1, Relevant Legislation. Crimes Act 1961, Section 151, Duty to provide necessaries and protect from injury. Everyone who has actual care or charge of a person who is a vulnerable adult and who is unable to provide himself or herself with necessaries is under a legal duty to provide that person with necessaries, and b. to take reasonable steps to protect that person from injury. Health and Safety at Work Act 2015, Section 30, Management of Risks. 1. A duty imposed on a person act requires the person, a. to eliminate risks to health and safety, so far as is reasonably practicable, and b. if it is not reasonably practicable to eliminate risks to health and safety, to minimize those risks so far as is reasonably practicable. 2. A person must comply with subsection 1, to the extent to which the person has, or would reasonably be expected to have, the ability to influence and control the matter to which the risks relate. Health and Safety at Work Act 2015, Section 36, Primary Duty of Care. 1. A PCBU must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, the health and safety of a. workers who work for the PCBU, while the workers are at work in the business or undertaking, and b. workers whose activities in carrying out work are influenced or directed by the PCBU, while the workers are carrying out the work. 2. A PCBU must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, that the health and safety of other persons is not put at risk from work carried out as part of the conduct of the business or undertaking. 3. Without limiting subsection 1, or 2, a PCBU must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, a. the provision and maintenance of a work environment that is without risks to health and safety, and b. the provision and maintenance of safe plant and structures, and c. the provision and maintenance of safe systems of work, and d. the safe use, handling, and storage of plant, substances, and structures, and e. the provision of adequate facilities for the welfare at work of workers in carrying out work for the business or undertaking, including ensuring access to those facilities, and f. the provision of any information, training, instruction, or supervision that is necessary to protect all persons from risks to their health and safety arising from work carried out as part of the conduct of the business or undertaking, and g. that the health of workers and the conditions at the workplace are monitored for the purpose of preventing injury or illness of workers arising from the conduct of the business or undertaking. 4. Subsection 5 applies if a. a worker occupies accommodation that is owned by, or under the management or control of, a PCBU, and b. the occupancy is necessary for the purposes of the worker's employment or engagement by the PCBU because other accommodation is not reasonably available. 5. The PCBU must, so far as is reasonably practicable, maintain the accommodation so that the worker is not exposed to risks to his or her health and safety arising from the accommodation. 6. A PCBU who is a self-employed person must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, his or her own health and safety while at work. Health and Safety at Work Act 2015, Section 45, Duties of Workers. While at work, a worker must, a. take reasonable care for his or her own health and safety, and b. take reasonable care that his or her acts or omissions do not adversely affect the health and safety of other persons, and c. comply, as far as the worker is reasonably able, with any reasonable instruction that is given by the PCBU to allow the PCBU to comply with this act or regulations, and d. cooperate with any reasonable policy or procedure of the PCBU relating to health or safety at the workplace that has been notified to workers. Appendix 2 excerpts from Police Internal Guidance. Relevant excerpts from the People in Police Detention Policy: call a health professional, use police medical officers where practical, for advice/assistance if the detainee has been injured, especially where a potential head injury has occurred proximate to the detention. You are supervising a detainee and think it necessary, or a detainee, on reasonable grounds, requests to be seen by a doctor. If a medical examination is undertaken, ensure a copy of the medical report is filed and a copy is provided with the detainee on transfer. If any other advice is received from a health professional, ensure this is recorded in the electronic custody module. In all cases, always consider the level of consciousness and whether the person should be transferred to a health facility. See dealing with detainees affected by drugs/alcohol or medical complications. Detainees affected by drugs/alcohol or medical complications. If the person is alert, able to engage in a coherent conversation, then follow the procedures for custody area staff. Drowsy or confused, responds to voice and able to reply. May need some assistance to walk. Then follow the procedures for custody area staff. Be aware that the level of consciousness may change over time due to intoxication or medical complications. Partially responsive, responds to pain only, e.g. nail bed pressure. Then, treat this as a medical emergency and arrange for the person to be taken to hospital. Unresponsive, does not respond to any stimuli. Then, this is a medical emergency and immediate hospitalization is required. If you expect a delay in the ambulance's arrival or the person's condition calls for immediate action, use a police vehicle. Note, if the person is detained for detoxification, S36 Policing Act 2008, consider the requirements of the Act to take the person to their place of residence. This option is not available for partially or unresponsive detainees. Intoxication can mask medical conditions. Intoxication can mask underlying medical conditions which can go undetected when custody personnel assume the person just needs to sober up. Note, loud snoring is a sign the person is deeply unconscious. Police employees need to be aware of the masking effects of intoxication regarding any medical condition and the risk posed by the mixture of alcohol, drugs, and current or pre-existing medical issues. Methylated spirits. A person who has been drinking methylated spirits will sober up more quickly than a person who has been drinking alcohol, usually, within an hour of being detained. However, they will be in greater danger of having serious medical problems. Therefore, you must seek medical advice before releasing the person. Visitors and phone calls. The well-being of detainees can be enhanced through the provision of visits and phone calls, and visits should be accommodated whenever practicable. Visits: detainees may be visited by a medical practitioner. A person detained under the Mental Health, CAT, Act 1992 should be allowed where possible, after considering safety, a visit or a phone call to a support person, e.g. friend or family member. Emergency procedures and equipment. Each station and custody area must have its own contingency plans and procedures in the event of an emergency, and all staff should be familiar with evacuation and any other emergency procedures. Relevant excerpt from the First Aid Training and Equipment Kits Policy. The policy ensures that workers have the skills and provisions to respond to medical incidents effectively, in order to keep themselves and others safe and well. It also serves to address NZ police obligations under the Health and Safety at Work Act 2015 and related regulations. Current certification in first aid is an important health and safety measure so police workers can better protect themselves and others. Currency is therefore a capability requirement for Level 1 and 2 responders before they can be deployed in the operating environment. It is also a necessary component of other NZ police training programs such as the Police Integrated Tactical Training, PIT, especially OC spray training, and custodial suicide prevention. NZ Police First Aid Training is designed to have practical application to the specific nature of policing and the police workplace. Workers are trained to a level that enables basic first aid to be applied until such time as specialist medical and/or paramedic services are available. Relevant excerpt from the OIA or resin capsicum spray policy, medical attention. People with a severe asthma condition who are exposed to OC spray may suffer respiratory distress caused by their airways narrowing, bronchiconstriction. If this happens, use the salbutamol inhaler and spacing device to provide relief to the person. Note: police are only licensed to administer salbutamol, not dispense, and as such must remain in possession and control of it, is not be given to or left with persons unsupervised, and immediately seek medical attention. Also provide medical attention immediately, if the person sprayed does not recover within 45 minutes, complains of, or appears to be, suffering from a medical condition, asks for medical attention.